All right, welcome back, everybody. Rudy Alpha Investments on this. This is part two of another very extreme collection buy that we did here in Florida. Don't forget to check out part one from the other day. Probably be about a day or two behind this video. So today on part two, we're going to go over another 20-minute discussion. We're going to talk about the dark, a little bit of visions conversation. We're going to hit up and talk about the Tempest, and of course, we're going to jump into Legends. We're gonna go and remember, this is I pulled all the good cards out of a massive collection just to show you guys the highlights, talk about my perspective of what's going on. All right, let's jump into it. So let's get right off here. We're gonna do this little. We're gonna talk about Tempest first. So we got Tempest is. I'm gonna first show you guys a few things. So you pretty much Tempest has a ton of what I like to call mid-range cards. They're not really worth a crazy amount of money, but you have all these medallion cards. I was always a fan of the medallions, okay? So the medallion cards themselves, and of course the blue medallion had the infamous Charlie Brown misprint where you could see a Charlie Brown in the background from the printer not being done properly and clean, blah, blah, blah. The medallions, I always felt, they should hold, I think they're appropriately priced, at like $5, $10 a card. I don't think there's a lot of upward movement. I don't believe they're reserve list. I wouldn't recommend people really speculating very much on a card like that. And I could be wrong. If they are reserve list, then we'll have a different conversation. But I think they're neat looking. But I really just I never played with them when I was younger. I think they just don't rub me the right way. That's all. I don't know if that makes sense or not. So I want to jump into these lotuses. So these lotus petals here. Here's a stack of them this guy had in this big collection. I found how through the bulk area. Lotus petals are again one of these bizarre cards that literally is a 0 drop, and you just drop it, get a free mana, you destroy the card. You know, for some decks, that's great. For other decks, it's a waste of a card in the slot. You really don't want that in your hand. You know, that's a card that's always had value and always been unique. Again, I don't believe that's a reserve list card. I believe that's been reprinted before. I could be wrong. I wouldn't speculate heavily on a card like that. Now, when it comes to cards like Intuition, this gets into the more top-end, more expensive cards in Tempest. Cards like that are what I like to call wild cards. We really don't know long-term on cards like that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see continued growth on very bizarre cards like that, honestly. Ancient Tombs, again, not reserve list. This is a card that unless you I want to be very blunt with everybody. Wizards will, and they're going to eventually, reprint this in the original art and everything. I know it's a reprint card for expeditions and lotteries and things like that. Do not speculate and invest in things like that. The risk does not justify the reward. Now, Wasteland is another weird example. This card's actually been reprinted in a Master set. This thing was reprinted in Eternal Masters. I think it was reprinted in a Rare, not even a Mythic. Now, original version Tempest. Now, let me explain something. You guys might appreciate this. A long time ago, this was the reason I started investing in Tempest sealed boxes. When Uncommon Wasteland had spiked to a high of $125 a card years ago, it made the price of Tempest boxes go up in value. I knew if an Uncommon was going to be over $100, the sealed value of Tempest boxes being $300, $400, $500 a box was too cheap. So I expanded buying Tempest products, and it was because of this card. When this card was reprinted in Eternal Masters with new art at the rare level, this card in original version Tempest dropped in price. This is an argument for the reserve list. So when this card dropped in price because of a reprint, it never recovered, and the sealed product of Tempest boxes and Tempest starter decks declined in value and never recovered for many, many years. Now an argument against the reserve list. Well, eventually, this card itself never recovered, but the price of Tempest boxes as a whole did due to other value and other variables. So, remember that. The reserve list is a very complicated topic that most people really don't want to do because everyone gets angry. So again, Wasteland as a whole, great card, still cheap in original frame, but it will be reprinted. It's not investable. All right, jumping over to Visions. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the original T over here. We got Squandered Resources. I don't know what it is about this card. I've had like 2 or 3 people contact me trying to unload their invested position in these things. I don't know. That card does nothing for me. Why? I have no idea why anybody would invest all their money in that card. Super weird. I guess it's reserve list, but whatever. Vampiric Tutor, not reserve list, even been reprinted in Eternal Masters as a Mythic and even recently as other lottery masterpiece fancy schmancy crap. Great card. Love the original. I would invest in it. It will continue to be reprinted. It's going to continue to be a hot topic. All right, now here we go. For those of you still waiting. All right, these are all the very expensive Legends cards. All right, we're going to start off here. Invoke the P. Obviously, very taboo art. Obviously, not exactly very friendly artwork, as they say. But I love the actual mechanic of the card. Obviously, the general, what was the guy's name? What was his, Harold was his name? Sorry, what was the guy's name? Harold McNeil. He was known for obviously very dramatic racist themes and dramatic cultural themes in his art. Obviously, Wizards doesn't work with him anymore. But the card itself, I remember building decks around it when I was younger. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know what any of the art were. I didn't know what it even meant. Didn't care. But the actual mechanic of the card, I always still think was really good. I used to use this deck, especially against red burn decks. The red decks, it was really good protection to really help that. All right. By the way, I still think that card's going to continue. It's never going down in price, especially with the history around it. And now that it's been not even be allowed to look at the picture, and it's going to hold value. Oh, Thunder Spirit. Oh, you poor card. Skyrocketed in the 2017 boom. Crashed really hard in the 2019-29. It got clobbered. Boy, there's some people who bought a lot of these things for like $300 a card and got annihilated. Just because it's an old school card. Nothing special, but in old school, there's not really a lot of white cards like that. Karakas, Legends. Here we go, folks. Uncommon card. Obviously, if you don't know the history in Legends booster boxes, Karakas, you either got a Karakas box or you got a Mana Drain box, if you know what I'm talking about, because of the way they distributed the cards. Karakas, again, great example. When it's not reserve list, the importance of the reserve list for arguing for the reserve list. If this card was reserve list, it'd be a $500 card. It's not reserve list, been reprinted. I cannot believe how cheap you can get these cards. That explains another example of reserve list impact and lack of reserve list impact. All right, In the Eye of Chaos. These are more of those weird, bizarre Enchant World cards, long term. Solid buy and hold. Never sell. Willow, same thing over here. These little silly cards. Reserve list, super rare, super old, super silly. Firm hold, 100% all about it. Rudy's Typhoon blowing something. Same thing. Solid hold. Going to continue to be long-term great growth. Astoria. Aboria. Arbor. I can never say that card. Same thing. All these bizarre cards like that, when it comes to these weird things, these weird, bizarre, reserve list, neat things, you need to hold these things. They are good long-term growth vehicles, I'm telling you. Reset, was this one Reprinting Chronicles? I'm not sure about Reset. I don't want to comment incorrectly. Spectral Cloak, a lot of weird speculation. Again, weird cards, weird, unique, reserve list cards. Long-term growth will be probably slow, but you're probably going to experience it. Field of Dreams. Why on earth this card remained so cheap for so long, and to this day, I remember buying this card for $10 to $15 a piece, and I still kept my like 50, 60 copies. Why on earth the card this unique and cool and looks this amazing in the art and everything was that cheap? I'll never understand. It's a $100 to $200 card. Why? It is not there. I have no idea. Just my opinion. These are those weird, bizarre cards. Hey, Winds of Change. We were just talking about the other day. Good card. Not reserve list, though. Now, when you get to these weird things, Arena, Chronicles reprint. Amulet, not Chronicles reprint. Reserve list, not reserve list. So literally, this is a great example of the reserve list conversation. This is something you should buy and hold on to. This is something you should not, because of the reserve list difference. That is a great example of when the reserve list makes tremendous impacts and differences. All right, obviously, part of the Black Four Horsemen. We got 2 Nether Voids in this collection. Very iconic card. $1,000 plus. It will get there. You need to hold on to them. Do not sell this card. Even if you only paid $100, $200, $300 for it, and someone's offering you double, do not sell it. I'm telling you right now, it will continue forward. All right. Nova Pentacle, same thing. Unique, bizarre things will have continued slow growth, but nothing dramatic because it's just not heavily played. Another Karakas. These are part of those weird gold cards. A lot of these weird this reminds me of Warcraft. These will continue to have slow growth, and it just is what it is. Now, down here, there's a lot of there's more Karakas down there, really. Again, these gold cards, they're all neat and everything, but they're the Black Blade, you got the old Tensu there, Dreamweaver, Akin, you got Solkinar. Some of these are actually Chronicles, Nebuchadnezzar. But all that matters to me are the favorite best 2 in my personal opinion, which are going to be Mr. Angus Mackenzie and my favorite woman in Magic, Mrs. Gwen. By far, well, all right, sorry, Sarah Angel and Lily. I apologize. Again, these 2 cards, I feel are the most undervalued, underappreciated Legends rares. In Legends, remember, there's no mythics, there's no foils. It's literally, this is old school Magic, ladies and gentlemen. It is about the mechanic, the artwork, and unique original cards. There's nothing fancy. There's no variants. There's no showcase. There's no foil extended arts. There's no mythics. We don't care about that. These two cards, and Gwendolyn, and both of them are actually great cards. I still think Gwendolyn is still, I mean, it's a 4-drop, I know, but it's a flipping 3/5. And look at that ability. Are you kidding me? You can pop random cards from your opponent's hand just. And then you factor in provocative artwork. I mean, it's got everything going for it. Unique provocative artwork, strong card, reserve list, unique, Angus McKenzie. Epic artwork, 3-drop 2/2, and actually a really cool ability. Same thing. Those cards are going to continue to be long-term investments and positions that you want to have exposure to. I don't know if eventually they're going to break above 100, 200. I don't know how long it's going to take to move to 3, 4. I don't know. But it's just something you need to have positions for because that day will come. I don't know if it's going to be a week, a month. I don't know how long, but it's going to get there one day. I'm telling you. All right, so on the emotes here, we got some definitely, I know, unfortunately, a lot of these are not the best condition. This gentleman was a pretty heavy player, not a collector investor, so unfortunately, not as much financial value because of the wear on a lot of these. All right, so we got 2 moats here. Obviously, moats, again, same thing. And I know, I feel like people are just going to rip this up because of the values and just tear me up in these videos, but again, I think these are $1,000 cards. I think the moats are just, they're such, again, mechanically unique, cool card. Now, tabbies, same thing. These cards are still, I can't believe these remain cheap as long as they did. You know, it took a long time for the market to realize the value of tabbies, and I do think long-term tabbies are going to continue to push upwards. I don't expect any major changes I don't see any downside risk of tabbies long-term, seriously. Now, again, on these type of things, again, we're back to the artifacts again with the rings and the swords and the amulets and medallions and all these things, the pentacles and be real careful. These are cool. The reserve list, they hold value, but these are not really mainstream playable cards nearly as much. Mirror Universe, just iconic. That's just Magic history right there. One of the most recognizable pieces of artwork in Magic. Very iconic. Great card. Nothing negative. Gravity Sphere, same thing. You got a lot of these really weird, unique cards, but they're not super... the growth is going to be more stunted compared to a mainstream card. Storm World, this one has a great history. People always trying to raise the value of these things. Been bought out many times. Again, a card that, again, use caution on. It's not really as dramatically iconic. All right, so we got Eureka's over here. You know, same thing. These cards should be a lot more valuable. I'm still surprised they're as cheap as they are. And again, these are all holds. Like, this is the true cornerstone of Magic. Another one of the 4 Black Horsemen here. The 4 Horsemen in Magic, just remind everybody when it comes to the black cards and Legends, you got Nether Void, you got Abyss, you've got obviously Chains, and you've got All Hallows Eve. The 4 Black Horsemen, by far, always remember, they are kings. Do not discount these cards. They are some of the best, most iconic pieces of history. They are incredible. Nothing negative to say. Living Plains, and some more Karoxan, Acid Rain, another mid-range little thing. Living Plains. I do want to comment on this one real quick before we jump to the dark and call it a day. Living Plains, one of my personal favorites in Legends. It went up for a while. I remember spiking to 200-300, then it retraced a lot, and I don't know. It's Enchant World. I thought it was a really neat card. I was always a huge fan of that. All right, so now I got a random block of the dark cards that I pulled out of bulk of what I felt were going to have just any form of things to talk about. Obviously, there's a lot to go over here. Frankenstein Monsters, Eater of the Dead, Season of the Witch. There's certain cards I really want to point out here in this video. Leviathan, a lot of these are just iconic cards. There you go, there's an Allergy. Is that I thought it was Antiquities at first. The Hag, you've got a Whippoorwill, Hidden Paths, Tracker, there's one that's been moved lately. There's so many of these. People of the Woods. So here's the thing, another Lurker. Do we have a Lurker down here? Put one down there. There's another Lurker. Eternal Flames, Mana Clashes, Eternal Flames. Come on, guys, let's see. Crucible, Preacher, there he is. All right, some Preachers. We got Exorcist over here. Look at that art. Holy crap, that's just some watercolor, old school. Brothers, you got Nameless Race. Was Nameless Race, wasn't that one of the banned ones? I'm not sure. I guess we'll put that over here just for a discussion. Ragman, Stone Calendar. Put them on the board. Eternal Flame. Ball Lightning. Should we put Ball Lightning? Oh, there's a foreign one there. No Ball Lightning. We won't need to talk about that. I just want to go over a few inch. Oh, Goblin Wizard. There he is. That's what I was looking for. We go over the Goblin Wizards, the Cage, Goblins, Crypt, Maze of Ith. We'll put Maze of Ith down there. Let's see. Goblins. Oh, Orc General. Nah, we'll skip Orc General here. Uncle Isty Rudy. Cursed Artifacts. Oh, Fire and Brimstone. We'll throw you down. That's an interesting conversation one. A Reflecting. Fell War Stone. Wand. Dance. Book. Golems. Machines. Skulls. Crypts again. Towers. Oh, Blood Moon. We'll comment on the Blood Moon conversation. I think that's important. So we'll put a couple Blood Moons over here. All right, we got some Necros there. Golems again. War Barge. Love the arts. Scarecrows. Love the arts. Amazing. Wands again. Reflectings. Coals. Another stone calendar. Oh, very rough condition. Not really worth much. Standing Stones. Another stone calendar. There we go. That's what I was looking for, the lands. All right, these City of Shadows. Safe Havens. There's some Martyr Cries. Cleansing. I think it might be a banned one too. Anything else hiding in here? Ghost Ships. Another Fire and Brimstone. Wasn't that down there? Yeah. Alright, so as you can see, what I did is I pulled out the touch. I tried to pull out a bunch of dark cards from the bulk that I felt were actually worthy of discussion. Alright, so we got it laid out here. Obviously, what most people want to talk about immediately when they think of the dark, in the last 30 years of the dark, it's all been about Blood Moon, Maze of Ith, sometimes like Preacher, and Eater of the Dead. These are kind of the most common, like when anyone in old school Magic, they talk about the dark or the value of the boxes, it always comes down to Maze of Ith and Blood Moon. These are the least important cards in the set. They are not reserve lists. Because of that, this is an argument for the reserve list. Because of that, these cards don't matter when the dark. They will be reprinted over and over. They don't mean anything. I know they're OG original, but these are the least important cards in the dark. The most important cards in the dark, and make fun of me all you want, is right here, City of Shadows, the Safe Havens, the Goblin Wizards, all these Fire and Brimstones, the Cleansing, the Frankenstein's Monsters, the Stone Calendars, Nameless Race. All these new sensitive cards are being banned because of this, and the Cleansing, all that stupid stuff. The point is, all the unique cards that are reserve lists are all moving up in value. Bulk cards, yeah, I mean, they're a little bit more than old school bulk of a couple pennies, but these few cards here that all used to be like $1 a piece, $2, this is the future of the dark. I'm telling you all right now, the dark is going to be moving, and it's going to become the next, I'm telling you, I just feel these things are so old, and some of these things are actually getting to a little bit of activity and play. I mean, Goblin Wizard, hello. I don't know if City of Shadows actually has some activity or not, I'm not sure. But I'm telling you all, some of these, Preacher's always been a little interesting. But when it comes to these Lurkers and Trackers, other cards, the amount of opportunity in the dark is beyond anything I've ever seen. The only other set I remember thinking the same thing was Weatherlight for the last 10 years. And Weatherlight already doubled, tripled, quadrupled in price. The dark, the fact this is a 1994 Four Horsemen set, and people were buying boxes of the dark I was buying boxes of the dark for $300 to $400 a box all the way up to 2016. I probably have 50 boxes from buying them because I was the only idiot buying boxes of the dark. And here we are in 2020. You can't get a box of the dark for under like $3,000. And here we are. And I'm telling you, the market's going to readjust. The same way Weatherlight did. No Rod is not going to stay a $10 card in Weatherlight. The same way these cards are not going to stay $5-10 a pop. These things will eventually move. I don't know if it's next month, tomorrow because of my silly Rudy Impact video, but I think eventually between tomorrow and the next 10 years, I know it's stupid sounding, but these things are so underappreciated. All it's going to take is some new item to be printed, something to change, and if some card in the dark pops in value, forget it. Forget it. That's my speech. I'm going to calm down now, go eat a taco. Thanks for watching part 2. I guess this video is going to be like a 5-part series. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe out there. A lot of fun.